I don't see what the big crime is. I really don't. And I think this is part of the problem people have with the left.
Bill Maher went on his show Real Time and surprisingly to some defended Harrison Butker, the Kansas City Chiefs kicker who has been under some fire for some things that he said at a commencement speech. Bill Maher defended what Harrison Butker had to say, and that has been much to the chagrin of some people on the left. He's been upsetting people on the left lately with various things that he had to say. So we're going to get into what Bill Maher said exactly, and also we will cover some other reactions to Harrison Butker, and I'll give my own thoughts. So first, let's take a look at this short clip of what Bill Maher actually had to say.
He said, some of you, talking to the women here, some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world. Okay, that seems fairly modern. But I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I don't see what the big crime is. I really don't. And I think this is part of the problem people have with the left, is that lots of people in this country are like this. Like he's saying, some of you may go on to lead successful careers, but a lot of you are excited about this other way that everybody used to be. And now can't that just be a choice too? And I feel like they feel very put upon, like there's only one way to be a good person, and that's to get an advanced degree.
Some of what Bill Maher says here is absolutely right, and some of it I would disagree with and say is incorrect. People can do whatever they want. You know, women can, if they want to have a career, they can have a career. If they want to raise a family and be a stay-at-home mother, they can do that. That's fine. Nobody is, I don't think, really saying that people shouldn't have the choice to do that, even people on the left. There's a couple of points here where Harrison Butker's commencement speech is strange, in my opinion. First, it's the audience that you're speaking to. Now, yes, this is a small Catholic school, and maybe a lot of the people there are conservative Catholics. I don't know. I don't know that much about the school. But you are speaking to a group of people who just got their college degrees. So presumably, you would think most of these women are planning to go on and have some kind of career. It's somewhat doubtful that most of them would go and get a college degree that they're never planning to use, that they're instead going to be a stay-at-home mom. So that's a little bit strange. If he had spoken to a group of high school students, I would think this would make a lot more sense to say, hey, you can go on the path of go on to college and get a degree and go on and work, or you could do this, go into this other area, which I think is just as meaningful and maybe more so meaningful, and be a mother and not be in the workforce. So that's part of it that's a little bit strange. And Bill Maher is only talking about the aspect that most of the media and most of the social media focus has been, and that is on these statements that he made about mothers. But there was so much more that he talked about in the speech that gets into all these other areas that I imagine Bill Maher would not agree with, being an atheist and the anti-religion person that he is. Most of the speech, which has not been the focus of the media, has been in a lot of ways bashing the Catholic Church, because he thinks the Catholic Church now is too liberal and the priests are spending too much time posting videos or pictures of their dogs or whatever. So let's take a little bit of a look at some of the things that he said in the speech. Now, just here in the fourth paragraph of his speech, he says, "Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure too many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice." Here's the problem that I have with Harrison Butker. I'm Catholic. He doesn't speak for all Catholics, but he acts as if he does. He doesn't get to question whether or not Joe Biden is really a real Catholic. So that's a problem that I have with his speech. He also talks about our Catholic faith has always been countercultural. Our Lord, along with countless followers, were all put to death for their adherence to her teachings. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So he's going against these ideas of inclusion and equity and diversity, these are divisive statements. And the NFL has said that they don't agree with what he has said in the speech. And now we have some Catholic groups who are upset with the NFL. So let's take a look at that here. So this article is from Yahoo Sports, and it says, NFL response to Harrison Butker's commencement speech. His views are not the NFL's. So this is Jonathan Bean, the NFL Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, said Harrison Butker gave a speech in his personal capacity. His views are not those of the NFL as an organization. The NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, which only makes our league stronger. And then it goes on to say in the article, Butker, who's a devout traditional Catholic, gave his speech at Benedictine College, a small Catholic liberal arts college in Atchison, Kansas, and it reflected his values and those of the school. He spoke against Pride Month, President Joe Biden, abortion, surrogacy, and in vitro fertilization. He believes women have been told diabolical lies about having a career, saying about his wife that her, quote, her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and a mother. Okay, he can have, nobody is going to come and arrest him for these ideas that he has and what he has said in this speech. And I don't believe that he should be fired. The people calling for him to be fired, I think that's ridiculous. He can say these things, that's fine. But the NFL doesn't have to agree with these things, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the NFL saying that these views are his and not those of the organization. An organization called Catholic Vote sent a letter, their president sent a letter to the NFL, and the headline here says, Ask NFL in letter, are Catholics welcome? And they said, in that speech for which he received a standing ovation, Butker called on Catholics to live up to the high ideals of our faith, including the defense of the dignity of every human life, the foundational role of the family, and the gift of motherhood. These ideals are not controversial for millions of Americans and indeed remain sacred for millions of religious believers, including millions of your fans and customers. Nonetheless, a recent statement by the league distancing itself from Butker for his remarks calls into question your commitment to genuine diversity and inclusion. Birch noted that the NFL claims it honors and celebrates the broad ranges of human differences among us, while also embracing the commonalities we share and to provide each individual with the opportunity to achieve their full potential. Does this inclusion include Catholics, pro-life Americans, mothers, and those who hold to traditional moral beliefs? We certainly hope you will continue to ignore the reckless calls for Mr. Butker to be canceled or worse. So, as far as I know, no one officially in any kind of official capacity with the NFL has said that he should be canceled, that he should be fired, that he should be suspended, that he should be fined, any of these other things. They've just come out and said these are his own views, not the views of the NFL. Freudian slip there almost. Here's the thing. The NFL is not a church. It's not a religion. It's a business. It's a sports entertainment business, and they want as many people as possible watching their games. They already have straight white males and Christians pretty much as a large core of their viewing audience. So they have to thread a needle here because they're trying not to offend those people, but they also can't come out and say, yeah, we agree with everything that Harrison Butker says. He's exactly right on all these issues. And then you offend those other groups that Harrison Butker went against. He calls out President Biden. So whatever millions of people are Democrats or Joe Biden supporters, they risk offending those people. He calls out Pride Month. He's, seems to have problems with gay people. The NFL wants to, I'm sure, have more gay people watching their games and being fans, so they don't want to offend them. People who are pro-choice, people who are pro-IVF. It's really interesting to me that conservatives and Republicans have latched on to IVF, which I would think would not be that. These are people who are struggling, who want to have children and are struggling to do so and are trying to have children. I think most people would support that. But you'd have however millions of people have gone through IVF or support IVF. Do you want to offend those people? So the NFL wants to continue to have their conservative followers, their straight followers, their male fans, their Catholic fans. And they, on the other hand, also want to have liberal fans. They want to have gay people watching their games. They want to have people that are pro-choice watching their games. So they are not the moral police, and it is not their job to be upholding one religion over another. I'm Catholic. I don't agree with the things that Harrison Butker is saying. He is pitting his type of Catholic, these so-called traditional Catholics, who want this traditional Latin Mass, which 96% of Catholics are not going to churches that have the traditional Latin Mass. That's only 4% of churches that do this, but he's all in favor of this. He told the graduates in the speech that they should find, when they're going and looking for a job, they, at the top of their list of things to look for, should not be money. It should be finding a church that has the traditional Latin Mass. So he's pitting even one group of Catholics against another group of Catholics, whereas the NFL wants these traditional Catholics, so-called, and they also want the other Catholics that don't agree with Harrison Butker. So it's a business decision for the NFL to say his views are his own. He's not saying he shouldn't say these things, we are against this, or whatever. They're just saying they're his own views, and that is not canceling him or silencing him. And that's one of the big problems with our society right now, is we have instances like this where somebody like Harrison Butker says something controversial. He has the right to say those things. He has freedom of speech. He can say that. Nobody stopped him from saying that. But people act like if they say something controversial, then if somebody else gets upset about that, then they're canceling them. That's not the case. People also have a right to not like what someone like Harrison Butker says and say they don't like what Harrison Butker said. That's part of freedom of speech as well. And just because the NFL does not come out and say, oh yeah, we 100% support all of what he's saying, does not mean that they're anti-Catholic and they don't want Catholic viewers. So that's insane by this Catholic vote group. And Bill Maher, again, he's totally right with what he said. There's nothing wrong with people wanting to determine what their career is going to be, whether that is having a career or not having a career. There's nothing wrong with someone saying that they want to stay home to raise their children. And some people have been upset with that, but that's not necessarily the crux of the issue here. Harrison Butker is saying very divisive things. He's pitting groups against one another. Instead of, in my opinion, a commencement speech is a great time to say positive things and to say, hey, you can use your Catholic faith to go out and do great things in the world and be a positive light in the world. But instead, Harrison Butker chose to go this negative route, in my opinion. That doesn't mean he should be canceled. That doesn't mean he should lose his job as a kicker. But people have every right to be upset with what he said. That's what makes our country great. We all have freedom of speech. But I have no issue really with what Bill Maher said here. I think if Bill Maher had delved into the religious aspects of this instead of just the motherhood aspect of this, he would have had a lot of different things to say. But what do you think? Do you agree with Harrison Butker here? Do you agree with Bill Maher, who seems to be on his side with this issue? Are you upset with the NFL that they're not coming out to just wholeheartedly defend what Harrison Butker has said? Or do you agree with me that the NFL is a business and they're not a religion and they're trying to get the greatest number of people to watch? They don't want to be offending groups of people in the millions who they would like to have watching their games. Now, boycotts and all those kind of things I'm always dubious of. There were a whole lot of people who claimed after the players kneeling during the national anthem that they were boycotting the NFL and they would never be back. And the NFL seems to be doing fine. Their viewership is good. The stadiums are packed. So these boycotts never really seem to work. But what do you think? Harrison Butker, what do you think of him? What do you think of Bill Maher on this issue? What do you think of the NFL? Make sure to give me a like and subscribe and a comment, even if you disagree completely with what I have to say. It helps to grow the channel. So make sure to do that, and I will see you in the next video.